let's say, 5 years ago, I had a Stripe account and I was KYC'd with Stripe. I had a merchant account and I'm a developer and I can build a website. I could choose to build a marketplace website or an e-commerce website, or I could choose to build a server that launches little tasks whenever I want. And I can call those like little agents. So, in what way are those agents using my Stripe account different than an agentic wallet that uses my Stripe
Yeah.
account?
Well, so like with Coinbase, not only did I have to log in, but I could only create one wallet.
Yeah.
And so with Tether and with MDK and with Lexi, you can spin up an unlimited number of wallets and assign each to an agent, sub-agent, etc.
I think the short answer right now is it's not, but it should be very different. And so, I mean, you should at the very least, the fact they don't let you have like sub accounts at the very least, where you can have like for each of your processes or agents has its own budget. That's crazy to me. That's like very behind the times. That's like table stakes. But in my mind, it comes down to speed and like frequency of transactions. Like if you have like an old school human wallet, you're doing like, I do one payment, I do another payment. Like if you, even if you have a human account and then you have an agentic account, to me, the agentic thing is you need to be able to do like 100,000 transactions in like a second. Like
But the
imagine,
speed or frequency of transactions seems less important than the fact that, like, an agent could exist on its own without being connected to me or anybody else, and it could earn its keep, it could make its own money, it could create its own wallet, it could do its own tasks, fund its own LLM development. Like, all of these things should be able to be done without me, and when I hear agentic wallet, I'm imagining something like that, and anything where it's really just like a wallet I launch on my account feels to me like we've had that for, like, a decade.
well, so I think those are two separate areas, right? And like, yes, I think where we're going is so when people say, I think there's agentic and then there's like actually agentic, which to me is autonomous agentic. And I got dunked by Matt in the group chat today. But if you guys haven't listened to my idea, it's from the edge. I got to talk my book here with Drew Bansel. We did discuss this in grave detail a year ago of like what it would mean like for an agent to be living on its own. And for that, I mean, yes, what you're talking about where you want this to go, you need to be able, I mean, basically what it comes down to is like, can you set up from chat without KYC? Because
Right.
if you need a human KYC, then obviously an autonomous agent cannot do it because they don't have, and then that gets to a much deeper philosophical question, which is, in this autonomous agentic world where we're headed, who's the liability sink? That's the big
Right.
question that we have not yet answered as a society. Where is the
Yeah.
liability sink? But even in the short term, even with what Steve's testing, there is a, let's call it like middle ground agentic thing, which is even if the human is the KYC human is the liability sink and they want to have a lot of different agents, from my understanding, it sounds like the Coinbase developer account couldn't even support, oh, I want, 100,000 wallets doing 100,000 transactions a second, which is that middle ground to me.
But TK, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Um, I think I did prove with Tether and MDK that you can have an agentic wallet. I mean,
Yeah, it sounds like
yeah,
MDK
I mean,
and WPK.
I
Yeah.
typed in go create this wallet, but there was nothing in my prompt that it couldn't have thought of and done itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas Coinbase did have these barriers. Now, I'll caveat all this experiments I've been doing. I think Coinbase has many offerings, so maybe I was using the wrong one, or I was just using one of many. Yeah, so I'd call these like preliminary results comparing all this stuff. But I do think Tether showing how permissionless it was. I think that with stablecoins,
Mhm.
Well,
I don't think we can just fall back. I think Bitcoiners would be lazy to fall back or misguided to just say like, oh, Bitcoin's permissionless, no KYC, and stablecoins aren't. I do think it's an interesting conversation about the longevity.
yeah.
Like, will Bitcoin resist it better than stablecoins? And I think the answer is probably yes. But again, this gets into like, okay, are we talking about long-term strategy, or are we? But I think it's very interesting also to look through the lens of I'm a builder today trying to optimize my startup, my business, my product, and I don't care about 10-year projections or whatever. So through that lens, um, are they really going to be sold on, oh, Bitcoin's more resilient to regulatory pressure down the road. And I don't think it's a good sales pitch.
I agree. And so I think in the short run, it's about speed and permissionless. You need to be able to, from the chat, get up and running and start making money. Now, it sounds like Tether can compete with Bitcoin on that for now. But then my question comes back. So like in that case where you gave Tether a wallet, and I guess it was USDT on Tron, or?
Yeah, I couldn't, I forget what problem I ran into, but I think, oh, right. I had no immediate way to have USDT on Tron.
Okay.
Because Phantom and
ETH.
MetaMask don't support it, I think.
So it was
Or no,
also
actually, right, I remember. One of them do support it, and I bridged into that, and then it got stuck. In fact, I should check. It's probably a week later still pending. That's the only like swapper bridge I've ever tried in one of those apps that did not work. Usually it's a good user experience, but it got stuck and pending. So then I created the Tether on Ethereum just to test it out.
And that worked.
Yeah.
So,
but I still it worked, but you need Ethereum for gas.
So there's this speed question, and every additional friction obviously slows things down, although maybe for the agents, not that much of a friction if it needs to get the ETH or whatever. But then my question becomes, okay, like, and maybe the answer is like, you need to go through another shitcoin cycle, and they're not going to come until those get rug pulled. My question is, if you have an agent, you're giving them USDT on Ethereum or whatever you got working, what happens? Let's say the agent does something that whatever it gets in trouble for. Who's the liability sink in that world? They don't have any tie to you, do they? I guess if they really wanted to, they could go see like what server is this running on, blah, blah. But like, we don't really
have agents infrastructure that is not tied to some KYC, right? Like
you could run a Claude bot on a Mac Mini, and then.
But who owns the Mac Mini? Is that you? Is that in the cloud?
But let's walk through exactly what I did to see where identity is revealed. So I went to ori.bot and registered, and I provided my email address there. So that is one piece of identity that I gave away. If I actually cared about privacy, I could give it an email address that is far less tied to my identity.
And presumably an agent could sign up for an email. I thought we even had a service that enables that or saw.
I think Ori uses SendGrid to do it.
No, it actually uses mailslurp.biz.
Right. That's right.
So gotta get that slurp.
So yes, AI could create its own email address, register for Ori bot, and then you can have an anonymous identity in a Telegram chat group with whatever privacy guarantees Telegram offers. But you can also imagine Signal where it's better privacy. And then you prompt.
But as you prompt that bot, it needs to be backed by some credit card tied to a token generator. So I assume like Nick's credit card or the company's credit card right now does that.
But well, I mean, right now I think it's free, right? Because it's an
It's free because it's paid for by Nick's credit card, right?
Oh,
free to you.
He's paying Claude, yeah.
Nick is paying, yeah.
But again, you could just do an open source Claude on your Mac Mini. Yes. And then someone would eventually what's going to happen is the agent has to put it on lots of Mac Minis. But eventually if they find your Mac Mini, then it's tied to you. You're the liability sink.
But let's say Ori.bot, it graduates to production and they charge for the service and customers are paying, and customers are paying though anonymously with Bitcoin.
I see. Yeah. Okay. So there's a path to get there.
Then then Ori creates this Tether wallet and does nefarious things.
Just to pause on that last one, if you were going to pay for tokens with Bitcoin, I think today an agent can't log into Claude and get an Opus 4.6 key by itself. Is that right? So does OpenRouter support such a thing where all you need, like an agent could do it with just an email address and set up their own password and create their own flow, or is there other kind of gotchas there?
Are you talking about Ori.bot specifically or not Ori? Just
you just proposed that in the future, instead of Nick's credit card being tied to Claude, that the Ori bot could have its own account that gets funded by the person using it via Bitcoin.
No, I was saying that or that consumers will pay for Ori, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can pay in Bitcoin. The business behind Ori.bot, like, can pay for Claude however they want. So I wasn't necessarily saying, I guess, so when we talk about, like, I guess where I was going with this is, let's say there's millions of customers on Ori,
Yep.
and a handful of them do criminal behavior. Is Nick and his company liable for that? I mean, but in general, the answer is no, right? Or I don't know. You can look at like Silk Road, and the answer is yes. You look at like Google and many other servers that you use, Google Earth and do a criminal act. Like, Google's not liable for that. So,
But like if you were hosting illegal material on AWS, they're probably not liable, but that's probably because they have some arrangement where they're very responsive to like legal enforcement takedowns or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this, if you want the truly autonomous life, and you're gonna have to go with the open source stuff, is my view for now. Because as long as someone has to pay Anthropic always can choose to no longer accept. However, if you're using the open source models, hosted, self-hosted, or eventually recursively backing themselves up on services like Maple or whatever, then that, to me, that's where you can actually get autonomy. I also like Agentic wallets. I like Vinny's idea too, that maybe registration is prepay this Lightning invoice. That would be really interesting. You just had to put up 100,000 sats and you're off to the races.
So then, just to wrap up what I did, the second demo I did, I created a very simple service. It flipped a coin, and then I put a payment gate around that. So I had an agent create this coin flipping service and run it and charge money for it. I think it was 100 Bitcoin. And then I had the other agent use its different wallets to pay that, and it worked. So it worked for it worked for Bitcoin. It also worked with Tether. Yeah.
So you got Tether in the agent's wallet, and then you were using it as an end user paying in Tether?
Yeah.
And that was through WDK?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Gambling is always the killer app there with Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be surprised if your coin flip service isn't doing numbers soon. It's called Dice Game .btc. So one interesting question. Vinny's now asking, can we buy tokens from Maple AI with Lightning? Yes, you can. So if someone enterprising now, and actually what's also interesting from this week, it was a couple days ago, things are moving so fast, I don't even know. Albi released, they have, I guess, their own agentic wallet, which got a lot of traffic when they sort of tweeted about this. One of Peter Diamandis's future whatever Singularity co-hosts retweeted it, which got a lot of love. I want to say they said maybe even Elon did. I don't know if I saw that. That would have been a big deal. But they had a Claude bot that gave birth to their Claude bot, was paying for its own services via Lightning. In that case, they were using ppq.ai. I then asked, if you really want this kind of if you really want this autonomy, you can't be using that centralized service. So I asked, could you do this with the T's, the trust execution environments, the secure elements with Maple? And then the Albi guys tried it and said that, Maple, to your question, Vinny, is not, you can pay. I think they use one of just the simple Lightning payment gateways to buy quote unquote tokens. But if you wanted to really have the agent do it itself, they're not really well suited for that yet. But it sounds like Anthony and Marks will ship something soon to make that much easier. So in theory, yes, you could do it. Again, not to toot my own horn, but if you go back and listen to the Drew episode, it's all step by step laid out there on how this next autonomy might go. And I think we have all the pieces once Maple ships the ability for bots to use their services themselves.
So one thing I really want to stress, if we want Bitcoin to win, I think we need to get sellers online sellers, offering their services with Lightning as the payment protocol. Because with that, you can have wallets that are obviously Lightning wallets can pay that, but again, Spark, Arc, Cashew, etc. But also like Cash App's demonstrated dollars on Lightning. So 60 million monthly active users on Cash App, all of whom have dollars in their wallet, can pay those Lightning invoices as well. So, we just need to, if we can get seller adoption, then the consumers will come, right?
And I would even push and say, increasingly, my view is, I mean, it'd be great. Anyone selling services for Lightning, yes, but selling services to the agents is what matters. Like figuring out what do the agents need to buy, which is why I'm pushing on Maple and all these guys, like make your service agent first. If they're buying, digital resources, physical resources delivered digitally, bandwidth, compute, storage, whatever it is, we need all of that, what Drew calls the metabolic pathways, paid for with Lightning. So agent services paid in Lightning, those are huge opportunities for anyone trying to figure out what to build next, figure out what do the agents need to live, sell it to them in Lightning.
But we need to sell them on accepting Bitcoin through Lightning and not USDC on Base and other stuff. So
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not as worried about that. I mean, yes, I agree. And if we can make that and like skip the next shitcoin cycle, even if we don't, my view is that maybe we can't skip that. And we have to go through everyone using, like we did with like tokens and crypto. Maybe we have to go through one more cycle where everyone does the Tether or the Base first, then they get rugged either at, one of the 50,000 layers, whether it's, layer 2, layer 1, the treasuries. Like at some point, people will realize, oh, wait, I don't actually own this. It would be nice if we could skip that.
Well, I worry that you say rugged. I mean, when I hear rugged, I think that all their money's stolen, and
that could happen too. Stolen or just like a payment.
I don't think Coinbase is going to steal all their money. I think Coinbase is going to rent seek and be like the biggest monopoly in the world, or Stripe, or whoever wins the stablecoin game. And then, but it'll have tremendous network effects. So it won't be as easy as just everyone being like, oh, I don't like the latest fees here, I'm just going to switch over to Bitcoin. It won't be easy because like everyone will have adopted that payment protocol, not the open money protocol. So I think it's very important with urgency
that we get it now.
I
agree with you. But to be clear, when I say rugged, what I mean is until they and the agents or the humans want to do something that Base won't let them do. Like I kind of come back to like the killer app for Bitcoin as payments always has been permissionless. And so, whether it happens now or in the future, there will be a time when agents want to do a thing and they say, you can't do this thing. And I think that we have to be ready. I mean, I would prefer we skip that whole phase. And if we can win on the marketing front and get all the agents using Bitcoin today, amazing. But if we don't.
Can we be concrete about like some of those ideas? Because I know in chat, I've shared a few things that I wish were more agentic. I think in the MDK chat, I think I saw that, does there exist right now a way to register a domain? Like an agent could register a domain with Bitcoin?
I mean,
without having any other registration?
Nick says he's working on it. I don't know, Nick, when live, we need it.
Okay. So that's like, I think that's a very good first test case of the thing, but are there others that come to mind? Like I was mentioning that I wish Vercel and Supabase were wrapped so that my agent could find them, update, pay in Bitcoin if there are payments needed, and then I can just update them. It can write, execute SQL scripts on my behalf instead of me having to copy paste it into the web interface. I feel like that's like the massive problem that exists in the world. It's less about traditional e-commerce and more about how can agents find and use and pay for the services that they're going to want. Because I think the whole internet is just going to be agents. So let's just build for them,
I agree. I mean, so domain registration, actual model usage or GPUs, storage, I think even stuff like Cloudflare, is that even like agent first yet? Could that be wrapped? Like any web services either need to be wrapped or rebuilt.
What about like I want an email, like a Proton mail for my agent? Is that already pretty easy to do? Or
well, so I think our call to action for people is we need to be building this stuff, right? And if it's possible,
be more concrete about what this stuff is.
I agree with you. I'm trying to I agree with what you said. Our call to action to people is to go build that. And if it can be a layer around existing stuff, great.
as a starting point.
But if it's not possible to like take existing stuff and add a, you know, we accept Bitcoin layer around it, then just replace that. And I think like with domain registrars, that's one thing that's being experimented with now is like, oh, they don't accept Bitcoin, or there's some other like CAPTCHA or other problem. So instead of like trying to like beg and plead to them to change their stuff, just
build a new one
and vibe code it, and we'll see how that works.